Welcome to the new
Dad Rock.
This episode is being released, launched, pushed forth into the world on May 11th, which is 364 days since we started. May 12th last year, 2020, at the height of the coronavirus pandemic, we kicked off the new Dad Rock.
Dude, we did 40 episodes in 1 year, published.
And that's the important part. I am a little surprised that we did 40, but at the same time, when we first came up with the idea, I had dozens of ideas right away. And at least half of those we haven't even touched yet. And at the time I had the interest, I had the inspiration, and importantly, I had the time on my hands. You know, we were spending a lot of time at home without seeing people last year. So it made sense to connect.
We've been listened to in 75 countries.
75 countries is ridiculous.
I didn't know there was that many countries. I mean, I think I did. But there's still like another 100 to go, though. So there's some room to grow.
When you started this, what were your expectations? Did you think we would...
I'm not sure I was expecting anything. But I did want to hear about cool music. And I like that every episode we did, especially the first 10 or 12... You know, maybe up through JuiceWRLD or Orville Peck. Like, I felt we were always doing something new. And not that we don't do that now. I like trying different things. Like, the audio on the first 3 or 4 is so bad.
Yeah, sorry about that. It took a couple episodes to get the levels right.
Well, now that we're here, what are we doing?
We're creating a legacy. Well, I mean, looking back at the body of work over the 40 episodes that we've done, I mean, I think we have covered some ground. What would you say are your, top 3 favorite episodes? Your desert island episodes of the new Dad Rock, if you will.
Okay, this one's from the fans, actually. One Direction's a huge hit. Like, when I talk about the episodes, One Direction Home, I think is the actual name,
which is a play on One Direction, the band, and No Direction Home, the Bob Dylan documentary.
That's the episode that people I work with like will hear about it and be like, that episode's amazing. The person who is holding the coffee mug in the picture we have up on the Twitter banner is he was like, I can't even listen to any other episodes because I know that's going to be your best episode. But he meant it in a way that was so sweet and amazing that this young woman is able to answer every question and is just like the biggest fan of this band. So he was like into it that way. And I'm like, yeah, no, I totally know. Like, cause it's the new Dad Rock, like getting your kid on to do it. Cause I know how hard it is to get my kid on.
Yeah. I mean, she totally came on and schooled us.
Dude.
She schooled us that night. And we try to be knowledgeable.
Oh, I studied. You had me. I would say their name, full name. She'd then give their birth dates and their middle name. I was like, yeah, that was awesome. I had a blast. Yeah, that would have been fun in person, but it was fine online. One thing people may not know is when we record this, we don't actually see each other. That's why the banter's off sometimes because
he's in California. I'm in New York.
Yeah, it's dark where he is. It's bright out where I am. You know,
I haven't even considered.
It's cold somewhere. It's warm somewhere. That. All right, so okay. One Direction. One Direction Home with your daughter. Top episode, fans. I mean, score-wise, too. It's our number 1 episode. But I still love Blind Melon. And you might have heard like 3 or 4 times in the last episodes. I'm like, oh, man, I love the Blind Melon episode. Or I'll say how this episode's like Blind Melon. Like, I prepped. But Blind Melon really was a pretty big surprise for me. Okay, I like that one. I really liked, episode 16. The freak scene. 13th floor elevators, TFS, CocoRosie, and RAKTA. Because the show delivered what I wanted, which was you telling me about new bands I hadn't heard. And these bands you'd been listening to for 10 or 15 years.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite ones too. Like, because that was kind of your intention is like, oh, let's check out a few of these bands. And, you know, we call them freaks in a loving way. It's a positive,
totally.
It's a positive thing. Yeah. So to all the freaks out there, we're saying it in a very loving way.
That was our 17th episode. And so, like, it's taken that many episodes to get there. Like, the audio quality is good. The other favorite album of mine, or not album, episode, is actually the 2 we did about the lizard.
Part of the reason I want to do this is say, like, I love, the Dad Rock. A lot of that stuff is really good music. There's a reason it's so popular. But I'm saying okay, I've heard that song 500 times. I don't ever need to hear it again. Let's expand that a little bit and get into other things. So the band I knew about King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. Once you hear that name, how do you not remember it? They put out almost late 60s type volume of albums. They've put out like 18 albums in the last 10, 11 years.
Straight up.
So
awesome.
I really got into them this year during the show. And as you can see, I've mentioned them multiple times. I just got Nonagon Infinity on vinyl the other night, and I listened to it and cranked it. And, on vinyl, it's seamlessly going from one song to the next. It was beautiful.
Yeah. Oh my God. Sounds awesome.
It's on the good stereo system and good 7 speakers.
Sure.
It was fantastic. So I agree with you on all of those episodes. Those were the ones I really like to do. And of course, the ones with our special guests, having Eugene and Brian and Sadie. And
yeah,
I feel so bad, but Eric?
Yeah, from the two
I feel like we ended up being meaner than, like, I didn't mean to be mean to him, and I've never met the guy. And like we said, he's in California. I'm in New York. I kind of want to go see Tool now, just because of him.
Oh, absolutely. We had tickets, but obviously it was like last June, and the show was canceled.
And I would say another episode that I really liked was the Cracker Van Beethoven one, because it's kind of the opposite. Like, you wanted to discover bands, and this is a band I didn't know anything about. You probably knew more about them. I mean, I remember Cracker's big hit in college, but that's it. And Camper Van Beethoven, I always knew the name. So I did some research, and I got into it, and it made me dig a little bit deeper just so we could do that episode. So selfishly, I like that one.
Yeah, so I really appreciate that one, because I feel that was like the first episode where I actually was sort of the lead-in the sense that I came up with the title. And I might have actually helped write some. It's the first time I helped. I think that's the
I don't know
that
you're selling yourself way short. We did a number of your albums that you bring in your car ride.
Oh yeah,
Orville Peck was certainly your suggestion. I believe it was who came up with JuiceWRLD. I can't remember who came up with that one.
Okay, point taken. Oh yeah, so we had that awesome stretch with Orville Peck, Blind Melon, and then JuiceWRLD. And then I start, hey man, I was on a car ride, I listened to this music, and I tried to like manufacture Steve's tapes, the tapes he used to send me in the 2000s, right? Like you got these monthly tapes or monthly CDs or whatnot, and they're awesome. And I was trying to recreate that, because that's one other thing I wanted from this. And our playlists are starting to get there, but like I really wanted to have these cassettes that you made me. I have like 2008, I have a 2003. They're awesome. But when I started trying to recreate those with my rides, numbers tanked. I'm sorry, guys.
What are some of your favorite moments? I mean, we've had some silly nights. I mean, for me, there were several episodes back in the beginning where there was a bird's nest in my garage, which is where I record, and the bird would start flying around while I'm recording, and I'm a little disoriented because I've got headphones on, and there's a bird flapping around a pretty small enclosed area. Totally. I'll always remember that, even though it was like, I feel like it was all the time, but it was like 2 or 3 episodes.
I strangely, I think we manifested the bird in your garage because we were sucking at the sound, and it's like, fix me, it says. And we did, but then apparently we ran into another animal that messed up 2 episodes.
Oh, the crickets, man. I started to try to edit the episode, and I all I heard was crickets, and I was like, I'm sorry, I can't do it. So we were going to do an episode on morphine, the band, not the drug.
No, we did do an episode, right?
I mean, we recorded it, but it was I never edited it down, and there's crickets in the background, so it's unlistenable.
Did we record a second episode that night?
Yeah, we did the one about Mdu Mokhtar and Zamrock.
Oh yeah. Guitar music out of Africa.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that.
So
yeah.
I think those episodes, we're going to try to recreate those up in our second year.
In year 2, baby. Yeah. They have a second chance.
So what else is in year 2? We'll probably have a few more special guests. I mean, there are a number of people we could get on here.
Yeah, I don't know if year 2 is year of the guest, but certainly by year 3, season 3.
Well, season 3 is always the guest.
Yeah, that's what the 3 is for. 3 people.
Yeah.
But I think guests are cool, especially because, like, Cracker Van Beethoven could have used a guest.
Like somebody who knew.
there's
it could use Dave Lowry.
Exactly. That's who he wanted. I actually watched like an hour or two of YouTube of like interviews he gave, or like, 'cause he's a professor and he talks about. But yeah, that's who we need. Like, we had that for Tool, and even though we don't like Tool, at least we had someone who did, and he knew everything. Like, so yeah. A lot of times you can be that person for me, but some bands.
Well, I think I can get John from the Butchered Rodents. He has some stories about Tool as well, so we could look forward to that in the upcoming year.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. Eric wants to come back. He's from Atlanta, and his friend, they want to do a show on Outkast and stuff, or basically the whole Atlanta scene. I think this is like late 90s, early 2000s. That'd be awesome. Start like learning about locales. That could be fun. Man, we can't get our kids on the show, but they'd be awesome if they talk to us.
Yeah, so here we are a year later, and I've been out in my yard weeding, where I remember I was weeding when I thought of the concept on the first episode, the Nigel Godrich version of Pavement's Terror Twilight, which is a very esoteric, it's a very obscure reference, and that's how we launched the new Dad Rock, which is probably not the best idea from a commercial standpoint, but I don't think that's what we're really about. So,
but what we were talking about was reordering of music that had been put out, and you had done that on on a couple albums you had sent me. There's a Modest Mouse album that you sent me that was in a different order, like song 15, song 1, song 8 is song 2, and like it just goes crazy. And I thought that was really cool. And then when I heard that the producer had a different order than the band had, and it was right around when we first started talking during the pandemic, it was a good structure because I was really totally curious about it. So I'm going to listen to it tonight again.
Yeah, and you should too.
I'm not even sure we talked about music the first 3 or 4 episodes. Like I got to go back and listen, but I have no idea what Radio Stack's about. And the first episode, not sure we talked about music. Then it's Pavement for a couple episodes, which got us going. But anyway, you remember Cacophonous? Cacophonous?
He's the Greek philosopher no one remembers.
It's a Cacophonous. I love that guy. Yeah, so that was a fun story. I think I'm going to write a whole philosophy on him. That's going to be my PhD in philosophy. Cacophonous. And then the other thing is that Desert Island game show.
What were the rules of that again?
Like for whatever reason, the story goes that if you're in an airplane or on a boat and you crash in the sea, you end up on this desert island, presumably by yourself, but maybe not. And they probably should have told you that. But what do you how you listen to music? But you had 10 CDs. I think that's what it was.
How many batteries did you have in this scenario?
Exactly. What were you listening to? What's the weather like? I would really like to know the weather and who I'm with, because if I'm with people, it's probably going to be different than if I'm not. And because I don't want to spread out my 10 CDs across every possibility. You're here with the young family. Be okay, fine. I'll have, a soundtrack to a kid's movie, or you don't know what's there. So, but anyway, the Desert Island was, you're stuck there with your top 10 albums.
There was a game show, though, that we came up with. And I was like, John Darnielle of the Mountain Goats, he would be a great host.
Yeah, it was something about that, the contestants on the island, and they're stranded there by themselves, but we basically fly the band in to perform for them. So Modest Mouse was my example. We fly Isaac and his band in to this desert island, and this person's surviving, except their favorite band's performing only for them on the beach.
That was it's right? Kind of like Survivor, except when you win, instead of $1 million, it's your favorite band comes and plays for you.
But that's what it was. It was rewarding, okay, you're really on a desert island. These are your 10 albums. It was really trying to recreate the visceral feeling of what it really means if you're really in that situation. Because was there the first person who was on a desert island waiting to be rescued, thinking, God, if I only had 10 albums, what would they be?
or maybe what it is you're the person on the desert island, and your 10 bands are on the island as well. And you have to decide each week which one you're going to eat.
I like that version better. So I pick my 10 favorite bands, and they fly them, performed on their island, and then they stop bringing us food. And they stop interacting with us. So all of my 10 favorite bands and me, and probably you're probably there too, are left to fend for themselves on desert island.
I suddenly like a lot of bands with a lot of people in them. All of a sudden, Parliament is now in my top 10. That's a lot of food.
No, oh my god, that's awesome. I'd be like, what's the biggest band? It's cool. All right. Did you learn anything? Like learn any new music? What new music
I have to be honest. I didn't listen to a lot of JuiceWRLD before the new Dad Rock. Orville Peck, I definitely listened to a lot more of. Camper Van Beethoven. That's another one. I mean, and of course, as I said, throughout the year, I got more and more into King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
Yeah, I agree with King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. Listen to a ton of them more, and I never heard of them before. So that's one of the greatest bands that came out of this. There's some other great bands, including One Direction. Like, love them. The Oranssi Pazuzu.
Oranssi Pazuzu.
That band's awesome. Yeah, they are awesome. Mind blown awesome. Yeah, it doesn't even matter. I mean, CocoRosie is great too. I really, really dig it. But I also think just trying to come up with bands to talk about. I think about even more music. It'd be cool to have more young people, aka our kids.
I mean, and we'd like to hear from you, listeners. I mean, hit us up on Twitter at the New Dad Rock.
I mean, that's how Eric got on. He basically, he didn't beg at all. I might have begged him, but it was more like he made fun of us. He sent me texts. He's like, "Oh, that was cool. I learned that. Oh, what about this? Have you thought about Tool? Hey, you want to talk about Tool? I could talk about Tool." So, once I was going over his house and I called Steve, I'm like, "Steve, you ready?" He's like, "Ready for what?" I'm like, "Tool." But that was fun and that was awesome. So I want to do more of that.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun having Brian talking about Van Halen because, I mean, I like Van Halen enough, but he's the Sadie of Van Halen.
Yeah, no, I think season 3 is the interlocutor, right? The person who cares. Sometimes you and I can represent that position, but probably there's always someone better for most positions. If you look at a lot of the early albums, Pavement, huge Pavement fans, OCs, we've done a lot of bands we like. That's all. Ween,
I have to say at this point, I mean, we made it through a year, 40 episodes. That's crazy. We're not putting out 40 episodes next year, I'll tell you that.
I want more swag, but I think we need more young people. I think that goes back to young people. I think we need a second wave of swag. I like your first original set, but we need away jerseys.
Kind of like a schematic drawing of a guy with a baby in a baby Bjorn on his chest standing next to a rock. And that's the new Dad Rock.
This is great. I'm thinking about our swimsuit line. Oh, it's going to be awesome. The new Dad Rock. It'll be you and me posing in different, really...
Nobody wants
I know. And then the calendar.
There's no demand for that at all. My Pet Rock, it was a popular thing at one time. We can revive it. Things come in cycles, man. We're the new Dad Rock. We sell rocks.
Dads are like rocks. Exactly. I like this. Hold on.
What I can't stand? Bob Seger. That's part of the reason we do this. Get rid of Bob Seger. No one needs to hear that anymore. Let's put something else in the mix. Spoon. Everyone likes Spoon. No one likes Bob Seger.
Yeah, what have you got against Bob Seger?
Like a rock.
So good. Well, I've really enjoyed this last year with you, and here's to many more, or at least another.
And thank you all listeners for joining us on this epic journey it's become. And tell your friends. Tell your frenemies. Don't tell your neighbors. Don't tell them. It's a secret. Tell the cool people that you know. Subscribe, like, love. The new Dad Rock. The new Dad Rock. 2 dads. We're not starting that again. Yeah. One more time. All right. 2 dads navigating the ages together. Yeah, because ages of music, but of your children together. Yeah, it's a funny way of saying we're getting old. We'll see you next time on the new Dad Rock.